Welcome to the Alcohol Free Life podcast, brought to you by thesoberclub.com. I'm Janey Grace. This is for you if you've quit the booze or you'd like to, or maybe you're just sober curious. I'll bring you tips and motivation without any judgment, and there'll be inspiration from experts, quit-lit authors, and sober heroes. Hi, welcome. This is Janey Grace with Alcohol Free Life from the Sober Club. We've had a few weeks where we've been running archive episodes for you. I hope you've enjoyed those, listening to Catherine Gray again on the unexpected joy of the ordinary, and William Porter and Annie Grace. I think those were the episodes that we ended up rerunning in the end, but we've done a little bit of promo for a bunch. And thank you so much for those of you who let me know your favourite episodes. And there's quite a lot of people, of course, who kind of find the podcast and then they go right back to 18 months ago and start listening to them all because, there's a wealth of great inspiration in there. And I say again, I feel so lucky to have had some amazing guests. And I really think if you're at the start of your sobriety journey, listening to podcasts is, mine and many others, is just one of the most fantastic things you can do to just really keep yourself inspired and keep yourself grounded. And at the moment, there's so much uncertainty about just about everything, that anything you can do just to bring yourself back into the moment is fantastic. So yeah, I think having podcasts in your sober toolkit is really cool. This week, I'm really excited to tell you we've teamed up with Noughty. That's Noughty. Noughty Alcohol Free. It's just the most fantastic sparkling alcohol-free wine. It really is such an amazing brand. And a lot of people have been talking about this and been saying, I can't find wine that even tastes good, let alone exactly what I want. And then they discover Noughty and they just find that they're able to feel like they're celebrating and quiet down that addictive voice with a lovely celebratory glass of Noughty. So I thought it would be nice to chat to Amanda, the founder, who's fabulously enthusiastic, as I'm sure you can imagine. And so we'll have a chat with her about the brand. We've also got some Noughty to give away. I think we've got like a case, like 6 bottles to give away. So make sure you check the link in the show notes as well. Before that, though, one of the things that I love talking about, and I'm banging on about it all the while, you might have heard me on the Club Soda Mindful Drinking Festival last weekend. I was interviewing Rob Hobson, who's a nutritionist, and we were talking about obviously nutrition and what we should eat and where diet comes into it, as in losing weight, the importance of sleep, because that's very, very much part of the same equation. And it's one of my favourite topics, not least because I find that when people first start on their sort of sober journey, it's often the second most important thing to them. Sometimes it's the most important thing. And then I have to remind them, no. It doesn't matter if you need to lose weight, ditch the booze first. We can look at the weight situation later. First of all, the ditching the booze is the non-negotiable bit. And when you've sorted that out, you're in a much better place. But having said all of that, you've heard me say before that I'm a really big believer that the early stages of ditching the booze can be made so much more manageable for you if you sort out your nutrition, because your brain chemistry is so out of whack, it's all over the place. And yet we can really heal and really help support all of this neurochemistry through food, through really good food. So if you're just at the in the early stages and you're thinking, okay, I'm going to ditch the booze, then this is not the time to be starving yourself or going on really kind of faddy diets. Just at least get 30 days under your belt and eat really, really well, because you'll be amazed at the difference that nutrition makes. So to that end, I wanted to bring you an interview with just a fantastic woman. Heather Nickel is a certified integrative, can never say that, can you? Nutrition life coach. She's based in Southern California, and she's owner of Beyond Better Life. She also has had her own journey with the booze, so she's the perfect person to bring us this information. I really hope you'll enjoy hearing what Heather has to say. Heather, thank you so much for joining us. And I wish I could be there with you in sunny Southern California. I'm very jealous. Is it lovely?
It is. It is so gorgeous out here. Thank you for having me.
Oh, it's lovely to chat to you. I can't even recall how I came across your stuff, but I think I've probably followed it for a while, and then I just saw some really lovely posts that just made me realise, wow, this woman is, really knows her stuff around nutrition, and I love sort of covering those topics. So yeah, I'd just love to know a bit about your background. Let's just talk me through what led you to doing the work that you're doing in your life.
Okay, well, thank you, by the way, for following my posts. I'm glad that you got some value out of those. I personally, how I came to where I'm at and changing my career to nutrition is I was 100 pounds overweight. And I was bedridden with pain, joint pain, been to multiple doctors, have been diagnosed with several autoimmune diseases. And basically the doctor said, this is it. This is your life. Here's your medications. And
live with it. Just live with it, girl.
Live with it. We've done all we could, right?
Oh my God.
And I believed them, and I took the medications, and, I said, this is it. And I was really depressed, and I had 2 small children, and I couldn't play with them, and I wasn't enjoying life. I knew there had to be a better way. So I started researching different foods and thought it has to be the foods that I'm putting into my body, right? And I found by changing my diets and tweaks, I lost some weight and I got some energy back, but I was still on the medication. And it wasn't until I was lucky enough to meet an open-minded doctor that did a big full panel of blood tests and skin tests for allergies. And it turns out I have a lot of food intolerances. And when I took those things out of my diet, the weight dropped off, the pain went away, I'm off all medications, and it's just changed my life completely. And I thought, you know what, this is a message that has to get out. People don't have to suffer with autoimmune issues or arthritis. They can have a full life. I mean, my friends have nicknamed me Superwoman.
I know, it's just amazing. I mean, you look sensational. You look really amazing, and it's just incredible, isn't it? That just years go by and people just don't recognize the power of food and how food can heal. But what the most interesting bit of what you were saying is the fact that you saw doctors and practitioners and constantly it was just more medication being piled on you, and I'm sure things are changing, because just a few years ago, certainly in the UK, I could honestly sort of hand on heart have said I was literally in despair, because doctors in the UK, GPs in the UK, in their 7 years of training, have only something like half a day in nutrition. Half a day. It is getting a bit better, and fortunately, we do have some GPs who are, they're looking at plant-based stuff. They're really out there now, so things are starting to change. But nevertheless, generically, there is still this massive missing link between healthcare, allegedly, and recognizing the power of food.
Absolutely. Food is medicine. I want to wear that t-shirt
everywhere exactly.
I go. I want to spread the word. Here in the US, the same. The doctors do not have one class in nutrition unless they take it upon themselves to go outside of their education and do that for themselves, which a lot have. A lot of the people that I trained with, Dr. Hyman, Dr. Well, they are big on food as medicine, which I love. I love. It's so true. I mean, food can balance your hormones. I'm helping with clients with that right now. It can regulate your thyroid. it's amazing, right? And exciting that that's what I teach my clients and I'm an advocate for, is they have the power. I put the power back in your hands. You don't have to, you can be your own advocate when you go into the doctor's office. And
yeah, absolutely.
really, yeah.
And of course, the other thing that doctors don't have a lot of training in, it's not their fault, but it's certainly in the UK, is they aren't aware of the spectrum of drinking, and the fact that, you know, that in the UK it's a case of if you rock up and you are clearly at rock bottom and you are an alcoholic and you require alcohol services and you're clinically dependent, then they'll prescribe or they'll deal with you. But everybody else, it's just a case of, oh well, sounds normal. And even, you know, even with mental health issues and anxiety, it's sadly, it's the question isn't asked. There is no connection. Where did that fit into the picture for you?
Oh, well, honestly, the quitting alcohol was the final puzzle piece.
Me too.
Yeah, right? It's so great. I honestly wish I would have done it sooner. I'm 47, and if I've been sober for 16 months, so I wish that I would have done this decades ago.
Me too.
And I'm teaching my children to, you know, stay alcohol free. So hopefully they won't imbibe. We were taught, and that's actually what finally just solidified my decision to quit alcohol, is when I was in my school and training, and after, I think it was the third doctor that said there is no safe amount of alcohol.
Yeah. And
when I heard that again and again and again through my nutrition school, I was like, a light bulb went off.
Yeah.
And then I read William Porter's Alcohol Explained.
Yeah.
That's a brilliant book, right? And just learning physiologically what it does to you.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, it has to go. To go. And so after quitting alcohol, it's actually really, really important. It, as you know, it reduces the inflammation in your body when you quit alcohol. And with people like myself that has arthritis, it's such and gut issues, IBS, SIBO, it plays such a huge role in gut health as being alcohol free.
Yeah.
So it reduced the inflammation in my body and helped heal my gut. And it's just, that's what catapulted me. And honestly, I think I look 10 years younger.
Yeah. I know you look amazing. Well, I mean, that's it for me. I've said many times that I was getting to a point where I was really afraid of aging. You know, I could feel myself bloating and looking a bit more grey around the gills, and I started to get such a sense of anxiety around getting older. And one bit of me was sort of saying to myself, "Don't be ridiculous. You've still got huge amounts of energy, and you know you're doing great things, and why should getting older be a concern for you?" But the other little bit of me knew deep down that I was looking worse as each year went by. I was piling on the pounds. I was getting more anxious and depressed. You know, and the difference is just unbelievable. If we could just, you know, this message is just so important, isn't it, to get across that. I mean, actually, William and I, you mentioned William Porter. William has been on the podcast several times, and one of the things we joke about, William and I, is that, you know, one of the best benefits of being alcohol free is you get younger. I mean, I get younger every year.
I know, you look gorgeous. You look gorgeous, full of energy. It is the fountain of youth. It's the fountain of youth. And I always find it so interesting that everybody, I mean, just eating right and quitting alcohol makes you look so much younger, but people choose to, you know, eat for comfort or whatever and drink and then shoot up with Botox and other toxins to their body to counteract the effects of each other. And
one of my clients actually that I've been coaching was telling me, it's completely out of the blue, but she'd been alcohol free for, I think it was, 4 weeks or something, and she used to have Botox apparently, and she was just saying to me, I don't need it anymore. I absolutely got no need for it. In fact, the guy that kind of worked with her at the clinic was sort of saying, "Why do you look so good? We've been in lockdown. What's going on?"
Oh, that's so
How amazing is that? I know, it's incredible. But the funny thing is, you know, while we're, you know, you and I are sort of extolling all these amazing virtues and sounding incredibly enthusiastic, the truth of it is that both of us were really on a health path. We knew about nutrition and wellness and holistic health and well-being. And I mean, I've been banging on about this stuff for years and years and years and years. It's skincare without chemicals and washing your clothes. I mean, everything. I've written books on this topic.
You have.
And
I love your
and yet, this was the elephant in the room that I couldn't look at. What is that about? Do you think it's just that because it is so normalized, we just sort of skip that bit?
Yes. I mean, it is normalized. It's $1 billion industry, right? The advertising, we're being bombarded with people having a great time is always with a cocktail in their hand.
Yeah.
And all celebrations are around with a cocktail in their hand, and it's advertising. Another one is Naked Mind, Annie Grace, when she goes over the marketing of the alcohol. It's brilliant, right? So it just teaches. That's what I would suggest, and I'm sure you do too, to everyone, is to read those books, because you can tell what the advertising market is doing to our subconscious.
Yeah.
And it's not true, because when you drink, it actually, numbs down.
Yeah, exactly. It's a depressant. Yeah.
Right. So why are we spending our best days, our weddings and baby showers and all those great birthdays and great events, and we're numbing the event. So we can't experience it and the joy that it's meant to be, because we're having that champagne or whatever.
Yeah, totally.
So, I think it's mostly advertising, and it does. A lot of people, I find, and working with my clients as well, is social anxiety is so huge, and people use that drink. And I was guilty of the same thing. I have social anxiety, treating it well, with natural and mindful methods. But that was one of the things I used alcohol for, was coming to a big room is horrifying for a lot of people. And having that cocktail before they enter in gives them that little relief. Unfortunately, I was one that couldn't stop at one. So that was just annoying to me, just to have one.
Yeah, exactly.
I would have quite a few, but that would help me in the social situation. So that works for a lot of people.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
So for anyone who's, kind of relatively new to all of this, and it's just thinking, well, but what are they talking about? What is a healthy diet? What should I eat? What shouldn't I eat? Just remind us of the basics from your perspective.
Well, I'm a little bit different, because what I do with my clients is I do a bioidentical meal program. I am so huge, and I'm a big believer in food intolerances. So I partnered with the European lab, and I do a hair test with them, and then we find out what foods they're intolerant to. I have some really healthy clients that were intolerant to flaxseed and lettuce. So by taking those out of the diet, just tweaked.
Can I just interrupt you there just for a second? So it's really interesting you mentioned food intolerances, because it's only in recent years that it's been talked about a lot. In many years ago, it would just be a case of somebody has an allergy, but we didn't really hear the word food intolerances. And of course, now it's much more known about that people have certainly things like gluten and wheat intolerance, which the things we hear about a lot, and dairy. So I suppose my question is, do more of us have more intolerances, or is it that it was always thus, but we didn't used to talk about it and we just kind of got on with it?
That's a really good question. So I do believe, in my case, it was true that I've always had those food intolerances, especially to the dairy and gluten. Looking back, I've never had energy even as a child. So this is actually in my 40s, just in the past couple of years. I have more energy than I did when I was 10. So that's a great thing, right? Because when you get older, you think you have less energy, right? But by taking those out. So in my situation, I believe I've always had them. I've also been finding in my practice that the foods, a lot of people are picky eaters, right? And they keep eating the same foods over and over and over again. And when I get their tests back, those are all the foods they're intolerant to. And I think it's because their body, they don't have a variety in their diet. And I think that's so important for people to eat the rainbow. And when we say eat the rainbow, it's, eat the purple cabbage and the purple carrots and, the oranges and the apples and the bananas.
Yeah.
To eat a variety in your diet. That's one way I think, to stay away from becoming food intolerant to some items.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
I'm guessing as well, you mentioned that sort of eating the rainbow thing and that variety. And I'm guessing that you think that's also really important to feed the good, the bacteria in your gut. For that good gut health, we need that variety. It's been interesting when I've worked with some clients recently to find that they pretty much eat like the same food all the time. And that's not actually very good for us, is it?
No, it really, that does build up. Your body just can't handle the same thing over and over and over and over again. So, gut health, that we have a second brain in our gut, right? We have to keep the right probiotics and prebiotics in your gut. And we can do that by eating fermented food and eating prebiotics like potatoes. And so it's easy to do, but I find a lot of people are so busy with their lives, and some are picky eaters, but some are just super busy and they just stick to what they know is easy. And I don't blame them, right? We live in a really hectic lifestyle. So what I like to do is get some easy 30-minute meal plans out to them where it's easy with variety so they can switch it up.
Yeah, sure. What would you recommend for everyone who is, when they first ditch the booze and they want to start eating a little more healthily? What are the foods that are really good to put in, to sort of help us sort of balance blood sugars and all the rest of it?
Well, the higher protein, for sure, just to balance that blood sugar out. It's actually, when you quit the booze, your brain wants that hit of dopamine, so you're looking for that sugar, right?
Yeah, totally. Oh, that was going to be my next question.
Right, that's completely normal. So when people ditch the booze, they all of a sudden, hey, I'd never had a sweet tooth, but now I have one, and I tell them, you know what, that's normal. I allowed myself for the first 30 days. Okay, you know what? Be easy on yourself. Love yourself. Don't do what you need to do. Grab that sugar if you need to. But then after that, start taping down. So drink more water. Absolutely. I love to put a teaspoon of raw apple cider vinegar in there.
Yeah, that can help with the sugar cravings. Yeah,
it's
great idea.
Sugar cravings. And I find if you just put a teaspoon, it tastes like lemon.
Yeah.
And it's not too bad. And then increasing the protein really helps as well. And there's a bunch of other tips.
What about supplements? Do you advise that people try and see a nutritionist or try and work out what supplements might be needed after drinking?
Yeah, absolutely. I do, because I've actually partnered with nutritionists and doctors in my practice. So I do a customized supplement list for my clients, and absolutely right off the bat, because the alcohol depletes and blocks nutrients coming into your body. What's folic acid, a great complex vitamin B, right? And get that probiotic, acidophilus, magnesium, vitamin D. And the vitamin D and magnesium is going to help them with their sleep, because right when they get off the alcohol, it's really hard to sleep.
Really hard to sleep, yeah.
It's really hard to regulate your sleep. Good news, that only lasts, 2 weeks, 3 weeks before you can sleep good again. So the magnesium and the vitamin D is always in the B complex is always the three major ones that I have them.
Yeah. And then what about, you mentioned sleep. Do you have any other tips around sleep? Because it is something that I think when we first stopped drinking, we kind of have this lovely ideal that we'll instantly ditch the weight if we need to lose it. And we'll be sleeping like a baby and we'll have loads of energy. And of course, it's not quite like that. And I do try and make that clear to people that, it is tough for a while. You really got to look after yourself, nurture yourself. But apart from those supplements, do you have any other tips around sleep? Because it can be it's so debilitating, actually, because when you're trying to do this hard thing and then you're really, really exhausted, and you're actually not even looking forward to going to bed because you know you're going to be awake the whole night.
Right.
Any other tips for us?
Yes, absolutely. So for sleep habits, the magnesium is a must. I usually take 200 to 500 milligrams before I go to bed. Melatonin is one.
We can't get that in the UK, you know.
Oh,
No,
no.
that's not.
Okay.
Isn't it weird? That's not licensed here. Yeah.
Okay. Well, then we'll cut that out.
That's
So
interesting.
the magnesium really helps. Taking an Epsom salt bath
Yeah.
with a little bit of lavender in, and have a nighttime routine. Tell yourself, hey, at 8 o'clock or 9 o'clock, I'm going to wind down. It's really important to actually be completely asleep by 10, because
Oh, really?
our internal clock resets. So after 10 o'clock, you're still up. Your body's like, oh, I guess we're up for a second round, and it'll start going. Your mind will start going again. So it's important to be completely asleep by 10.
Oh, wow. Do your clients do that? I'm impressed.
I coach them. To do that.
Oh, my goodness. So what time do you tell people to get up then? Early, I'm guessing.
Yeah, we have a morning routine that I encourage. Usually, personally, I get up at 4:30.
Wow.
That I do. I don't care. My clients don't have to do that, of course. They usually get up at 5 or 6 because they start their morning routine then. A good 7 hours sleep is also a useful technique because it regenerates the skin and nails. But back to the sleep, being asleep by 10, and also not being exposed to the blue light.
Yeah, exactly, of screens.
Right. Yeah, an hour before. Keeping your cell phone out of your bedroom.
Yeah.
Put it in the bathroom. That's another technique. And also, I say get the TV out of your bedroom.
Yeah. Yeah.
So there's tons of tips for sleep, and also I do a nice meditation before bed as part of my routine.
Yeah, fantastic. And I'm guessing you when you work with clients, you would encourage them to incorporate some kind of exercise. I mean, some people are really get really enthusiastic when they first stop drinking, and exercise becomes their new addiction. Sadly, that didn't happen for me. But it's important to have some form of movement, right?
It is, and that actually helps with the sleep too. It pops endorphins, so it is really it's great for your moods too. I mean, exercising just 4 times a week, 30 minutes a day, is equivalent to 20 milligrams of Prozac. So it's just so important. So I encourage them, yes, to move their body in a way that brings them joy. Because if they're going to go to a boot camp and they don't like boot camp, they're not going to stick with that.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly. Do what you love.
Right. Do what you love. If that means dancing, dance in your living room.
Yeah.
That means hiking, yoga, just as long as you're moving your body. And that really helps with sleep and anxiety too.
Yeah, definitely. I just had a thought, I remembered that someone had been asking me recently about the liver and how the liver repairs itself. Tell us a bit about that, because there'll be some people listening who are sort of thinking, oh my God, I'm too far gone for all this. I've been drinking for so long, and have I damaged my liver? I mean, it can be a real concern because, of course, it's not easy to know, actually.
Right. Well, a lot of people do go in and get their blood test and get their liver checked before they quit, and then after they quit, and those blood tests prove that your liver does heal itself.
Yeah.
It's miraculous. Our body is an amazing machine. So no one is too far gone. No one. So with the right foods, and a great supplement for the liver detox is NAC, and a nice amino acid that helps with liver detox as well. But just by quitting alcohol, you're doing your liver a big favor.
Yeah, absolutely. And so just back on the food intolerance thing, just for a moment, I was just thinking about that again. What are the common ones, and do they, in time, does it change? Does it come good, as it were?
I'm really glad that you brought that up. So the basic ones, the main ones are gluten and dairy. A lot of people are intolerant to dairies. I would think way over gluten. And I don't know if you know this, but gluten and wheat is different in Europe than it is in the U.S.
Is that right?
Yeah, in the U.S. we only have one type of wheat that they manufacture over and over and over again. And when you go to I have a lot of clients that when they go to Europe, or they can eat the bread there without any intolerance. But those are the two main ones. And when you do take them completely out of your diet for 6 months, it gives your body a chance to heal. You can reintroduce those foods, but it's important to just reintroduce that one at a time.
Yeah.
So then you see, how is it reacting to your body? So when you do reintroduce that food, I've had clients reintroduce it and they break out in a rash immediately.
Right.
And their stomach pain comes back immediately. So they know that, hey, that's a no-go. I can't put that in. But I do have other clients that bring foods in and with no problem.
Yeah.
So your body does readjust and does change. So it is possible. It's not like a never have that again. For me, gluten and dairy is a never thing, because every time I try to reintroduce, because I used to love my cheese. Especially I visited Holland and I just loved sampling the cheeses there. It was amazing. But for me, it's a no-go for the dairy. But yeah, other people can reintroduce and have no problem.
Yeah. So would you, in terms of dairy then, would you have sort of things like nut milks and oat milk? And do you make your own?
I'm lazy. I'll be honest. I haven't made my own. My mom is a big fan of making her own almond milk. She keeps saying it's super easy. So she sent me a bag of nuts with the instructions on them.
Come on, Heather. I mean, even I do that, right? I do that. It's a blender, water, nuts. Off you go.
I know. My excuse is that I'm a single mom of two, and I have a busy.
Yeah,
business.
no, we're all imperfect. Right. I mean, the reason I ask is because with the plant-based milk, certainly in the UK, a lot of them have got a whole bunch of stuff added.
You
kind of don't, and sometimes sweeteners of some kind, and it's like, oh my God, I just want some milk in my tea. Yeah. Do I want all of that? So
exactly, and I don't know if you've read this study, but eating a lot of those gar gums cover the bacilli in your intestines, and it prevents absorption of nutrients in your intestines. So I do try to limit the gar gums and the carrageenan. So what I personally do, I know people are against it or for it. I'm a fan of it. I drink organic soy milk. So I love it. It works for me. So I use soy milk, and it doesn't have any of those extra gar gums in it. I do use almond milk sometimes if I find a pure form, or you can make your own. Another form of dairy alternative is I love cashew ice cream.
It's
so creamy.
Do you make your own of that, or do you buy that?
No, I buy it. So yeah, the brand So Delicious is a great one, and then cashew yogurt is my recent find. And
excellent.
It tastes really good and creamy.
So I guess, when we do want these sugar, in inverted commas, treats, it's a case of finding healthier versions like that that are not going to be the end of the world, because ultimately some of us do have a sweet tooth,
Right. I do.
Yeah.
I do.
Yeah. Just mentioning, you mentioned soy there, and I'd be interested in your view around soy products, particularly where that links to hormonal health, because sort of two questions in one here. But, again, I've had clients who've found that when they've ditched the booze, they've been able to, and this is not anything I've recommended, but they have just found that they're able to completely come off HRT, and their hormones are regulated, which is just absolutely amazing again. But isn't there some kind of contraindication with soy, or to explain that to me?
So, I mean, there's different views on that. Some people agree that it increases the estrogen in your body, and some say that it doesn't have enough effect. I believe everything in moderation. If you drink and eat tons of soy, if you're a vegetarian or a vegan and you're eating, tons of servings, I personally am not a vegetarian or vegan. I'm just dairy free. So I don't have that many servings of soy a day. So I'm usually at a half a cup a day. I feel like in excess that I do believe it could increase the estrogen in your body. So that's something that I tell my clients to pretend like you're a detective. And when you're eating your foods, ask yourself, after you eat something, how do I feel? What did I just eat? Could it be that food? And that's what I would invite your client base to do is to really be aware when they're eating soy. Is my hot flashes increasing? Am I having night sweats? And just listen to your body.
Yeah, absolutely.
And do what feels good for it. Yeah.
Yeah. Is there anything else that you think is just, I know we could talk for hours of this stuff really, but is there any other kind of one thing that you would, like to share with us?
One thing regarding nutrition or alcohol?
Yeah, both and either or. I mean, to me, it's all linked. I really do find that it's what's great about them. The people that I connect with is that they often recognize that, okay, they don't have an off switch, it's time for a change, and then the world opens up and suddenly they start to think, oh wow, okay, so food will help me feel better too, and there's that fabulous link, and the world expands, and they get healthy.
Yeah, absolutely. One good thing that I would like to get across is that when you quit drinking, I ran across a lot of people that are like, I still feel like crap. I thought I was supposed to feel wonderful after I quit drinking. And I invite those people to look at what you're eating. And if you're eating a healthy diet with fresh fruits and vegetables and lots of protein and you still feel like crap, then check and get your food intolerances tested, because it's huge. I find a lot of people are using alcohol to self-medicate because they are in physical pain, and it takes that pain away, right, just for a few hours. So they're using alcohol to self-medicate, and by taking those foods, if they're intolerant to foods, if they take those out of their diet, that pain's going to go away. So I invite those people that are early on in sobriety or taking alcohol out of their lives to investigate what they're putting in their bodies as far as food. Before they say, well, this isn't working, I'm just going to go back to my wine.
Exactly. No, it's such a good point, and it's such a great time to, as you say, I love that expression, you become a detective and you really ask yourself what's really going on. When we were just numbing everything with booze all the while, we don't notice anything, but when you stop, you can actually notice, well, how did that make me feel. If you've just eaten a whole packet of biscuits, you might actually want to stop and notice, actually, I feel really crap now. Understandably.
Yes, absolutely.
I love it. Well, thank you so much, Heather. I mean, we could talk forever. Give us your website then, where people can find more about your work.
Yeah, absolutely. It's been such a joy to talk to you. They can find me. My website is beyondbetterlife.com, and you can also find me on Facebook and Instagram at Beyond Better Life.
Brilliant. And I'll put those links in the show notes too.
Oh,
Heather, thank you so much. It's been great. And, here's hoping one day maybe I'll be in California and we'll let's do an event and I'll interview you in person. You never know.
I would love to. Maybe by then I can give you a hug. So.
Definitely. Oh, God, hope so. Right. That's another important part of the prescription, right? Is have a hug. Yeah, definitely.
Absolutely.
Heather, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Thank you. Perfect. That's amazing. I wonder would you have just literally another 3 or 4 minutes to do, would you just do a super, super quick little section just for my community, my Sober Club members, because they'll love your work. And I've got and there's a bunch of them in the States as well.
Okay.
So yeah, if we could literally just do, they probably will have heard the podcast, but just like a specific thing about food intolerances and the importance of getting it tested would be amazing. That'd be all right? Perfect.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'll kind of just ask you the question and off you go. I'll have done the intro. So, right.
I'm going to take a drink of water.
Yeah, I do. Yeah, I mean, literally, we'll keep it really short, but it's
No
just like a little
problem.
extra thing for them. So.
Mm-hmm.
Heather Nicole, thank you so much for agreeing to just chat to us a little bit more about food intolerances. And when I interviewed you for the podcast, we were saying the fact that more people seem to recognize these issues now. But what should all of us look for? Because I know you were talking about the fact that sometimes drinking alcohol all the time is almost masking what's been going on.
Yeah, absolutely. So when you finally ditch the booze, and you're thinking, hey, I still feel like crap. The symptoms that you're looking for is rashes. So if you have rosacea, if you have eczema, if you have psoriasis, if you have acne, we are not supposed to have acne over 40. There's so many women that I run into that say, I still have acne. No, you shouldn't. That's a food intolerance. No, should not have it. And so the skin issues, hair loss, stomach issues. So after you eat something, you feel bloated, you feel extra full is something to look for, gassy. The stomach issues are like the main what people associate with food intolerances.
Yeah.
They think that that's it, that is the only symptom, but it's not the only symptom. It's the one that you might feel right away, but definitely not. So if I eat gluten, my rosacea will break out in 3 days, and it will stay. Yeah. So like if you eat dairy, it stays into your body for 3 weeks, even if you have a bite, the cow protein. And if you eat gluten, the protein stays in your body up to 6 months. So it can be something, even if you start a food intolerance diet and you're like, hey, I'm still having symptoms, this isn't working. Give it some time, because you could still have that in your body. And some of the other symptoms you feel is low energy, joint pain, because when you eat a food that you're intolerant to, your body reacts to it like it's a virus. It's a foreign substance to it. So it attacks it, and your body becomes inflamed in a survival mode. So that actually helps, or not helps, but it keeps your body storing the fat.
Yeah.
So until I stop the other two, I had mentioned to you before on the podcast that a doctor did the blood and hair test for me, and I found my list of food intolerances. There was an extra 10 pounds that I could never lose, and I thought, hey, I'm over 45, this is probably it. I'm not going to be able to lose it. And when I got my hair intolerance test done with the lab that I currently use, turns out that I was intolerant to pumpkin seed and flax seed. And I was eating that, and avocado, and I was eating that every single day. And when I took those out of my diet, I lost 10 pounds in 2 weeks.
Wow. But as you say, maybe that after like a 6-month break, you might be able to reintroduce those foods.
Absolutely. Actually, as soon as 4 weeks.
Right.
So ideally 6 months is the key, but I have some people that really love a certain type of food and they're anxious to bring it back in. So if you're completely off that food for 4 weeks and you reintroduce it and your body does not have an immediate reaction, then sure, you can reintroduce that back in.
Right.
But it's really important only to do one food at a time, though.
So I mean, I think it's great that you've just flagged this up, because so many people, go, we all expect to feel amazing in week 1, and of course we don't. But what you're really saying is, okay, week 1 you're not going to feel great, but if you ditch the booze for 4 weeks, 6 weeks, 2 months, and you've still got really very obvious symptoms, then that it really is worth looking into this. I think that it's such an important point that most of us just don't think about, because if you're the kind of person that's got a bit of arthritis or a bit of this, a bit of that, we tend to make that our story, and we just go, oh, that's my thing, I've had that for years. But what you're really saying is, no, absolutely, check this out. So would you recommend then that we get a hair test or a blood test?
Yes, I absolutely recommend. I prefer the hair test, and the reason why is because the blood test is really reactive to what you've eaten recently. The hair test has a longer lifespan, so it's more accurate in my mind. And from my experience, is to do the hair test.
Right. And do
And then
you know any labs that do that in the UK? Would you know of any? I guess I can research some.
Yeah, absolutely. My lab that I use does. They can get their testing through me. I do just the testing, and then they get support in my food intolerance group. Yeah. So they do testing in the UK, Australia, New Zealand. So I actually prefer European-based labs because I feel they're more thorough.
Great. So maybe you can give us the link, or well, obviously we've got your website. So that's amazing then. So you must work with people who find that but this literally sort of takes this little missing piece of something that they've had going on for years. It must be amazing.
It's so rewarding, because after just a week of taking those foods out, I have clients call me, their gut pain is gone for the first time in their lives. They have their migraines are gone. They dropped 4 pounds in 1 week. The other thing is their moods get better.
Yeah.
So their depression, anxiety, that gets better as well, because when your body's inflamed, it affects everything. Yeah. So they get great responses, and it's really, really rewarding to see.
Fantastic. So just remind us of your website one more time then, and where people can connect.
Yeah, it's beyondbetterlife.com. And then I'm also on Facebook and Instagram. I do daily posts for health and nutrition and all that motivation and inspiration and all that great stuff.
Excellent. Heather, thank you so much. Really appreciate it.
You're welcome. Thank you.
So check out more of Heather's work, and if you want more support, around nutrition and sleep and just living your best life, don't forget that's what we focus on at the Sober Club. Heather recorded an exclusive session for Sober Club members as well, and most of my guests bring us extra stuff. So there's just so much information, and of course accountability and support and inspiration. It's all there, and it's also amazing being able to support other people and be part of a community to whatever stage you're at. We have people on day 1 and people on year 6, and there's literally always something for everyone, because we all need to be reminded of what it was like at the beginning. Sometimes that reminds us just how far we've come, and that's pretty amazing. There was one woman in the Sober Club posted this lovely post this week about how she's had a lot of stuff going on, really difficult stuff in her life, but she said, I think it's something like 3 weeks into sobriety. And she said, what is this amazing feeling that I'm getting? This kind of elation. She said, it's an almost irrational joy. And I said, you've got the pink cloud, as they call it. And of course it won't last. The absolute euphoria doesn't last quite as intensely as that, but nevertheless, welcome to your new normal. Wow, there's a different use of the phrase. Welcome to the world of actually feeling okay and sort of happy, for not necessarily any good reason. And so many of us have literally forgotten that feeling of waking up, feeling with a sort of sense of contentment almost, rather than that awful dread of, oh my God, how much did I drink, or what did I say, or did I send any texts, or, even am I in my own bed, depending on how far it got for you. Anyways, I promised you an interview with Amanda from Noughty.
I'm absolutely delighted that my guest is Amanda from Thompson and Scott, who have the fabulous Noughty, the amazing, amazing, amazing Noughty. You can tell I like it, can't you, Amanda? Welcome.
Thank you, and I can tell it's genuine, which is lovely.
I totally love it. Okay, before we get into talking about your fabulous drink, let's just talk a bit about you. Tell me about your background and the sort of work you've done in the past, and also what led you to thinking about creating this amazing drink.
Sure. Well, basically, partying too hard and wanting to feel good in the morning, essentially, was how this journey came to being, I suppose. I was an arts broadcaster, so not dissimilar from some of the work you do. I was in the film, fashion, arts, music sort of space, and we used to drink hard and play hard. And having grown up with a mother obsessed with a really beautiful diet, I started to really realize that after 1 or 2 glasses of whatever I was drinking, and at this point it was alcohol related, I would start to feel different ways. And I realised that wine actually is in 2020 the only legal consumable where you actually have no idea what you're drinking.
That's so true. That's so true. I mean, they don't.
A powerful learning.
They still don't have. Am I right in thinking they still don't have to put ingredients? That's absolutely incredible, isn't it?
I mean, it's shocking.
It is shocking. I mean, I've heard you say before that, those of us who care about our health and well-being, will be really careful of what's in our food. And anyone who's got kids gets very used to looking at ingredients, and we check for the E numbers and the preservatives, don't we, in the food? And is there any colorings? And we can become quite obsessive about all of that, and then literally grab a bottle of something that you absolutely no idea what's in it. So what is in it? Let's just talk about that first.
All kinds of things. Chemicals, allergens, sugar, animal byproducts sometimes. I mean, my brand set out really originally in the alcohol space, to be clear, and then we've moved into alcohol free, which is very much our focus now. But it was all about just really trying to destroy some of the mystique around these added ingredients. Ironically, without sort of dragging you too much into the semantics and science, it's really hard because of labelling legislation. And of course, because we're often drinking bottles from all over the world, and each country has its very sort of specific legal ramifications when it comes to what you are and aren't allowed to say, there's a whole other level of complication. So with my brand, I set out just to be as transparent and open as possible, and to cut as many of these nasties as I could. So whether that be, for example, saying that we're organic, saying that we're cutting added sugar, and by that I mean you've obviously got the grape sugar, but not adding all the extra sugar, saying we're vegan and not using animal products in filtration. I mean, I sometimes have carnivores saying, what do you mean? There's no pig's feet in wine. Is to do with the filtration process, the bits where you're filtering the wine to stop the sediment, like when you drink natural wine. I don't know if any of you have. It can be very cloudy, a bit like if you're having Tropicana orange juice, whereas the filter system, often dairy products would be used. So all manner of reasons, really, just to try and be much more open. And of course, we're as open as we can be while adhering to all of these complicated labelling laws. So what I tried to do was just make the messaging of my brand as simple as possible, and say we're as pure as we can be. We taste as delicious as possible, which is, of course, the primary concern, but without all the nasties added. That's really what we've been striving to do, Janey, from a philosophical perspective.
Just back on the regular wines that people drink. I remember when I was drinking, I used to try and kid myself that, if a bottle of wine said, I think sometimes used to say things like less sulfates. I mean, what does that actually mean?
So the sulfites or sulfates, two words, are used to stabilize wine. There's a lot of misinformation about them. I think we as consumers have started to sort of catch on to that term and think, oh, sulfites are bad. Now, like a lot of things, a small amount is allowed even in organic wine just to stabilize. So, for example, in the natural wine movement, if you're opening a sparkling wine, it will often appear really overly fermented. I don't know if you've ever tried a really sort of funky wine when it's a bit like Coca-Cola, when it's just gone really funky. That will be when you've got really no sulfites to stabilize it. So with our brand, we say, a little bit of sulfite to stabilize, within what's allowed in the organic realms is okay. But of course, again, because as consumers, the wine industry has been so closed, it's really hard to have informed conversation without either going down the really deep scientific route when we lose consumers completely, or shutting down like most brands do. So it's really hard to have these conversations in any sort of sensible way. So we just try and make it as simple as we can and say, we just use whatever we're allowed to use when it comes to being organic. Although at the risk of really losing all our listeners, which I don't want to do, even organic, there are so many misnomers, Janey, I'm sure you'll know, because when we go from Germany to America to the UK, we've all got different regulations around organic. So that's when it gets really complicated.
Yeah, it is fascinating. I mean, I talk about this stuff all the time in terms of skincare, and I'm telling people,
well, there's a lot of parallels.
There are a lot of parallels. I can tell.
Like natural.
Absolutely,
what does natural mean?
Exactly. And just because something says it's organic, certainly in terms of skincare, it will say it's organic, but that may just mean it has the teeniest percentage of one organic ingredient in there, but it still has a whole load of other stuff. So unless it's 100% organic when it comes to skincare, you don't know what you're doing. Anyways,
aren't there? Well, our brand, our Prosecco and Noughty, most importantly, we're talking about our alcohol-free, 100% organic. So for us, it's that 100% that becomes important here.
Yeah, absolutely. So when you create your alcohol-free Noughty, then is it that it has alcohol in it, and then you do the de-alcoholization process? Is that what it is, which brings it down to under 0.5%? Do you want to just explain that for people who don't know what that means?
Actually, we're lower than that now. We've had different sort of labeling conversations. We're trace, actually. So officially, Noughty is 0 alcohol. We're allowed to say 0 alcohol. So it's 0.05% trace, which interestingly is less than, for example, a fermented vinegar. So
or a banana or something.
Alcohol at all. Exactly, bananas. There you go. So we're trace. So like soft drinks. And actually, to get your halal certification, so to be available and applicable legally to the Muslim community who don't drink any alcohol whatsoever, it's important to have that kind of 0, just the trace element. We are actually de-alcoholized, exactly. It's a vacuum distillation process where we take Chardonnay grapes, organic ones, blanc de blanc, like in the best champagnes for those people who do drink, and it's de-alcoholized. But the way that it's done and the process and then the scientific analysis for Noughty is really strict, and that actually is applicable globally, because I think very few alcohol-frees are given the halal stamp. So that's where we were really focused on making sure that we were alcohol-free.
Sorry, carry on.
No, I was going to say, even in our alcohol-free sort of space, there's a lot of different sort of percentages to play for, because of course a lot of people are lumping together low alcohol with no, and then you mentioned the 0.5. Now a lot of sort of beers, for example, are calling themselves alcohol free with 0.5%, whereas we've gone a step further and we're saying that we're allowed to say 0. And for us that's really important, not just for the Middle Eastern community, but for the sober community who really just want to ensure that there's none at all there. So we've been quite obsessive about that. And as a brand, because I came through the champagne and alcohol sort of space initially, for me, and I'm curious to know your philosophy, because I'm not sure I've heard you comment on this. For me, I really want to be clear about no alcohol. I don't particularly believe in playing around in the low space. I mean, if I wanted to create a low alcohol, I could just take my beautiful Prosecco and a few ice cubes and a lot of sparkling water. I mean, that's fine. But I think for a lot of my alcohol-free friends and people in the sober community, they want to be sure that there's no alcohol, rather than playing in that kind of confusing space. You know, when, for example, if you're trying to drive and you do like an alcoholic drink, it's confusing enough to know what you can or can't drink. So, and of course, if you've got other personal reasons for not drinking, it's very important for me to say we're alcohol-free.
Yeah, absolutely. How do you manage to make yours well, certainly it doesn't taste too sweet, and you know that's one of the things that you promote, is that it doesn't have too much sugar. How do you manage to do that? Because a lot of other alcohol-free, certainly the wines, are very sweet.
Yeah, it's interesting, and it was hard, Janey, really hard. We tried every single alcohol-free on the market to find the right partner and producer. And eventually, I was banging my head against a metaphorical brick wall. I was really unhappy, because taste for me is everything. And when you started talking to me, saying how much you love Noughty, every time somebody says that to me, it gives me such pleasure. It was such a labour of love. And it actually took so long to develop that commercially, I knew that the opportunity was there. But for me, taste is everything, actually. And I knew that the future-facing marketing element and the consumers were there, but I was never about to launch anything, Janey, unless it tasted, in my mind, perfect. And I'm a bit of a palate obsessive, and it did drive me mad. And we believed we'd found the perfect sugar level. So I'm so happy when consumers like you, ordinary consumers and people like you in the media love it equally, because for me it means that we found that perfect balance. Incidentally, when we're talking with the Middle Eastern market and Dubai, for example, often people are wanting to add apricot juice.
Really?
If they do want a little more sweetness. But for me, it's like, you can bring your sweetness very easily, but I wanted it to taste perfect in that beautifully balanced way that I believe a drink should be, you know, because sugar masks imperfections, essentially.
So and it's low calorie as well, presumably.
Well, you know, it's a funny one. It's a bit like eating celery. You know, by the time you've picked up your glass of Noughty, you know, after you've opened the bottle, you've probably exercised more than the calories. You know, I think it's 14 calories per 100 milliliter glass. So calories in alcohol and in drinks, they are metabolized in a particular way, and we don't like to get too hung up on calories as a brand. We like to publish them for transparency, but the point is, because it's organic, because it's low sugar, there's really virtually, you know, such a low amount of calories there, if that's what you're focused on. Exactly.
Great. And what's wonderful is that, you know, that it looks so fabulous as well. You know, the branding is great, and the bottles are lovely, and you've managed to get, you know, to get it into some restaurants and all the rest of it. So I'm guessing that's your plan. You want it out there, right?
Absolutely. And I think prior to COVID, we were obsessed with the on-trade or on-premise, as they call it in Australia and America, where we are. That was really our focus. We love the real world and being out there and being able to be enjoyed. And really that idea that we should have Noughty there for everybody to celebrate who's not drinking in all of the lovely places. So if I'm out with you and we've got friends who are drinking and friends who aren't, why can't we all celebrate together? Yeah. So it's like you've got the champagne for the drinkers, the Noughty for the non-drinkers. That's my dream. Interestingly, though, what lockdown proved to me globally, not just with the UK, with our international markets, Janey, was this, that the sort of ready-to-drink consumer movement for alcohol-free, there's a lot really that can be done with the home market. I think there's a lot of alcohol-free that is being enjoyed at home as well. So I think it's that really interesting balance between making sure we're available in lots of the lovely places. I know you're a fan of the Lussman restaurants. It's wonderful to have it there, you know, and having it in beautiful places. But equally, there is big growth to be had in the direct consumer, which is why we're launching in, I suppose it's fair to say, the UK's top supermarket later this year. So that's news that's not been announced yet. But it was sort of always my dream to be in one perfect supermarket, to make sure we were easier for people like you to pick up perhaps on a regular shop.
Yeah, that's fantastic. That's great. So obviously it's fabulous on its own, but somebody might want to do something fancy with it. So do you want to just give us maybe an idea of one simple recipe that we could?
Absolutely. Well, one of my favorite ones actually is if you take a beautiful organic elderflower cordial. Now, you can get dry ones. They're mostly fairly sweet. So literally it would just be, if you don't want it too sweet, just a little drop. So a touch of elderflower. A glass, so top it up with Noughty, then just a touch of sparkling water and a few sprigs of mint. Nice. Now that's a play on the Italian Hugo cocktail, actually. It's super simple to make. I mean, I just love a brunch sundae with a mimosa, so with some peach puree. I mean, that's super simple to do, and one that you can just keep coming back for more and more. I mean, the mocktail movement has been really interesting for me, because what I found a lot of restaurants, I'm sure as a non-drinker you've seen this, historically they've often been focused much more on creating sort of almost what I would call smoothies. So
yeah, exactly.
The kind of thing that I give to my child, or I'd like on a, you know, after a gym class, but really packed full of fruit sugar. Whereas I think the movement for mixologists to create their beautiful sort of cocktails, and then we play on that with the alcohol-free.
Yep.
That for me is a really interesting movement. So we're creating really grown-up twists on cocktails. And so what I encourage anyone to do, where Noughty stops, is to say to the mixologist, what can you make me, with Noughty and a few of your favorite ingredients that is completely alcohol-free? And I think every bartender loves to play around with that. And that for me is a really interesting direction that I believe the mocktail movement should go in. We park smoothies, that's not, I don't think, a really grown-up, elegant way to be enjoying sparkling alcohol-free Noughty. It's just in my mind. I don't know what you think.
No, I agree. I mean, at one time, well, even some places now, their alcohol-free offerings are sort of, obviously your Coke and juice and obvious stuff, and then they'll offer a mocktail, but it will be so sweet, and I remember hearing a guy saying that he'd gone out with his mates and ordered a mocktail, and literally it was just like this sort of massive glass, like this huge kind of balloon with an umbrella in it and sweets and God knows what. It's like, hold on a minute, my mates are all just having a pint or a gin and tonic, and I'm sitting here with this humongous kids thing, and it's not quite right, is it?
No, it's just not cool, is it?
There's just no reason why we can't make these drinks are equally as grown up.
Absolutely. But I think maybe before Noughty existed, I think the drinks business is very male dominated, and I think I think a lot of the reasons that innovation potentially wasn't done so much on the sparkling wine side is when we look at sparkling wine demographics, of course plenty of men drink, it's not a gender thing, but historically it's often women who've grown the sparkling wine movement. So of course conversely we've had a lot of innovation in the alcohol-free beer space and interestingly in the spirit space, but there hadn't been anything really very elegant done in the sparkling wine space. And I think that's where really Noughty has a big opportunity there.
That's true. And have you thought about doing a non-sparkling? I'm guessing that's harder.
Yeah, I'm about to find out, because funny you say that. I'm talking to you in my kitchen, and just around here I've got every single, I think pretty much alcohol-free wine to taste. I had never thought about it, Janey, till the last few months when there's been a lot of pressure on me. Because I think ever since Tamlin Curran, the journalist who works with Jancis Robinson, declared Noughty the most incredible thing ever in the movement, I think there was a lot of international markets who came to me and they've asked me and said, have you done that? And interestingly, you've just asked that question. So I decided, with pressure on my shoulders, I should look at that. So watch this space. I mean, I'm a party girl in my mind, and sparkling for me brings the party. So the reason sparkling was all about my focus is it's that kind of pop of the cork and that celebratory moment. But I recognise there's a real opportunity in the grown-up still wine movement. So
yeah, it's definitely the question that I'm asked a lot in the sober club. When people sort of first start their journey and they decide they want to still have nice drinks. My key thing is I'm always encouraging people to prep ahead, and those who drink beer, they're sorted, as you say. Those who drink spirits, there's some fabulous spirits. And then we always obviously recommend yours straight away. And then the question will always be, oh, and by the way, are there any really good, regular whites? So I think it will be really interesting to see what you can come up with. I'll be fascinated.
No pressure.
I'm very happy to be your tester.
Great.
Yeah. Fantastic. Well, it's great to chat to you, Amanda. And I can know, it's going to go from strength to strength. It's such a fabulous brand. You must be really proud and really chuffed to be part of an amazing growing movement, and you've got this amazing thing right at the heart of it. Must feel great.
You're kind. I think like most entrepreneurs, I don't really stop to be proud. I mean, I get lovely moments like this occasionally talking to people like you, and you say kind things, and that means a lot. I think, and very competitive. I've got a very big plan. I want the whole industry to be much more sustainable. I've got big alcohol-free plans. I mean, we're working on a few innovative sort of projects that I'd love you to be first to find out about. But yeah, I don't stop to feel proud. I appreciate your kind words. I think I'm always focused on the next, if that makes sense.
That's great. Well, it's great to talk to you, Amanda. It's people can find your website, obviously Thompson & Scott, and obviously you're going to be available in supermarkets and hopefully all decent bars and restaurants. We hope before long. Great to talk to you.
It was lovely to talk to you. I couldn't just get a little cheers, could I?
Absolutely, yeah. You've got yours, but I don't have mine.
So to Noughty, thank you, Jane. Lovely to talk to you.
Great to chat to you. Thank you so much.
Cheers.
So don't forget, check the show notes. We've got some Noughty to give away. There's a bunch of other competitions as well. And make sure you stay connected. You can find me on social media, of course, at Janey Lee Grace, pretty much everywhere. Do check out our membership if that's something you're interested in. I can't believe we're going to be a year old. The Sober Club is a year old at the beginning of September. So we're going to do some really nice promo for that. And we'll kind of do a last push, and then we might close the club up for a little bit while we run some special courses and things for our members. So do check it out if you're interested, thesoberclub.com. Always remember, please, to reach out if you are struggling in whatever capacity. You know, there's so much help available. Please, if I can't help you, I can, signpost you to somebody else who can. Always just reach out for help. At the beginning, I'm sure I've said this a ton of times, but way back when I first ditched the booze, I thought I was the only person who had this going on. I genuinely thought that everyone was completely cool with the way they were drinking, or they were clearly totally at rock bottom. I had no idea of just how many millions of people there were who were grey area drinkers and actually waking up at 3 a.m. wanting to stop. I had no idea, and it was just incredible when the world opened up and I realised that there was support available and there were other people just like me, and how cool I could actually get some inspiration to see that I could become free from it all. So if that's you, make sure you reach out for help. And I'll see you same time next week. Have a great week. Thank you for listening to the Alcohol Free Life podcast, brought to you by the Sober Club. Please rate and review. And if you want support, accountability and inspiration, and you want to live your best life without the booze, check out thesoberclub.com.